Now we have a very special session coming up, a focus on the Olympics. I'm really excited about this. I'm a complete Olympics junkie. It's like time stands still in my household when the Olympics are on. I've gone to 2 Olympics, and PNG has a long-standing partnership with the Olympics. And for any of you who have watched for the last number of years, you've seen that work. And you know how much the company supports the athletes, the coaches, and the families involved. So before we introduce our first guest in this segment, let's take a look at a short film from PNG's Olympics work.
Your whole life, you've done things I could have never imagined doing.
Things almost no one in the world can do.
But I'm proud of you for something else.
I'm proud of you for doing the things that we could all be doing.
The things you do, not for yourself,
Look at that.
but for others.
The things you do every day.
Things that matter.
Share my story.
The impact you have on the world around you.
And I can't wait to see what you do next.
I mean, that stuff just gets me every time. I don't know. And what would an Olympic segment be without a current Olympic athlete? I am so proud to introduce our next guest, Chloe Kim. Chloe is an American snowboarding champion. At the 2018 Winter Olympics, she became the youngest woman to win an Olympic snowboarding gold medal in the halfpipe at 17 years old. 6-time X Games gold medalist. First woman to win 2 gold medals in snowboarding at the Youth Winter Olympic Games, and the current World, Olympic, Youth Olympic, and X Games champion in the halfpipe, and the first to win the title for all 4 major events. Thank you for joining us, Chloe Kim.
Hello.
So good to have you here. Let's start at the beginning. When did you first imagine that you were going to be a competitive snowboarder, and when did you first dream about going to the Olympics?
So my parents loved watching the Olympics, so we'd always watch, the Olympics at home. And I think it was 2006. I was watching women's halfpipe snowboarding, and this is kind of when I already was snowboarding on and off just for fun with my family, and I was thought it was pretty cool, and I told my family that it was something that I wanted to do, and they were kind of yeah, right, of course. But I was really, really passionate about it, and my dad was like, all right, cool, let's see if this is possible or not, and it happened.
Well, it couldn't have just been that easy, right? I mean, some kids are kind of groomed from the beginning and driven by their parents or by a coach or, by a school. How did it happen for you? How did you first realize, I might be pretty good at this?
Yeah, so I started snowboarding when I was 4 because my dad wanted to try it, and he took me with him. Uh-huh. And I think I caught on to it pretty quickly, as you can imagine, since I started at such a young age. But I didn't actually have much experience with halfpipes until I was about 9 or 10. With a good
so
halfpipe.
Old.
Yeah. No, but I did my first big junior jam competition when I was, I think, 9 or 10, and I won gold at that one. And I was like, okay, I feel like I might be really good at this. And I just kept competing at those events, just kept getting better. And at 13, I got my first medal at a pro event, competing against all of my role models and idols, people I looked up to, people I watched on TV when I was younger. And from there on, it just kind of got crazy. And I honestly, sometimes I have to take a step back and realize how my dream came true. Mm-hmm. I feel like for me, it just felt a little impossible at times, but the fact that it actually came to life just feels so surreal, and it really motivates me to continue working harder and being a better snowboarder.
When you won that first Olympic medal, what was that like? I mean, I think that feels like something that almost all of us project ourselves onto when we, see the medal ceremony. But what did it feel like for you?
It was so crazy. I think when it happened, though, there was so much going on that I wish I was able to just take a moment and really take in everything that was going on. But I actually had a dream the night before, or this weird deja vu moment where when I was standing on top of that podium, like my family was in the exact same place as they were in my dream. And it was so weird. But I think I can't even put it into words, that feeling. It was kind of the feeling where you just feel so good and like so excited and so happy, and also pretty emotional because you realize that this moment is what you've worked for, the past 15, 16 years of your life, I guess.
Right.
It's so weird because I started when I was 4. So it's what, 16, 17 years now? Oh my God, I've been doing this for so long.
But you're so young to say that. I have to say, please, at least until the Olympics this coming winter, don't get sick of it, okay? Now, when you're standing at the lip and you're about to drop in and everything is on the line, how do you clear your mind? Like, what is going through your mind? Is anything? How do you get to that moment of focus?
I was just blasting my favorite song at the time, and I don't think I was nervous. That might have been the first competition where I just felt no nerves at all, and I think it was kind of a thing where I feel like leading up to it, I was so nervous and just so anxious, just kind of expecting the worst, expecting the best, not really know what was going to happen. But when you're up there at the Olympic finals, you're just like, whatever. At this point, you put in all the work. You worked as hard as you could to get there in the first place. So I didn't want my nerves to ruin that moment for me. So I was just jamming out to some good music, just having a good time, laughing, cracking jokes with friends and coaches, and just keeping it as lighthearted as possible, which is pretty hard to do sometimes. But at that moment, thankfully, it all worked out, and I was so relaxed going into it.
That's that's inspiring. And by the way, the connection between music and sports, there we just made it again. I mean, you see that at the NBA Finals. You see that with all sorts of elite events. The headphones in and just the focus. How has your world changed? You're now world famous, and that must be strange. To be recognized on the street, to have people who come up to you, ask for your autograph, root for you. Does that change you? How have you handled that?
I think that has been the trickiest part of it all. I don't think I had never expected it to get to that point. I just thought I'd hopefully win the medal, or after I won the medal, I was like, all right, it's going to be pretty chill. Some people might recognize me for a little bit, but I think it would just blow over and whatever. But that definitely didn't happen. And I kind of wish I was more prepared for it, because even going to get breakfast somewhere and waiting in line, everyone in the line would turn around and just stare at me with the biggest smiles on their face. And it made me so uncomfortable because it's not something I've experienced before. I mean, sometimes in the mountains, because everyone's a big fan of snow sports, but in a big city like LA, you never expect anything like that. I didn't, at least. So it caused a lot of anxiety, and it got to the point where I didn't want to leave my house for a good amount of time because I didn't know how to handle it, and I just felt so much pressure to be this happy, bubbly person. I was at the Olympics, obviously, because I just won a gold medal. But just that pressure of being this version of yourself and not really being able to have a bad day didn't sit well with me. And there were definitely moments where I just couldn't deal with it and I had to run away. So
Right.
I'm sorry to those people who saw me in that light, I wasn't doing very well mentally, but I'm in a much better place now.
Well, it's clearly you've learned some lessons, because just the ability to talk about it like that means you've moved through it, it seems. And to that end, you are now working with companies and starting to engage the way that many athletes engage, which is they have their own platform. They choose the sponsors they want to work with. One of them is in PNG. Were you prepared for that part of the journey, which is, sort of the business of being Chloe Kim?
Yeah, I think I signed my first professional contract when I was like 12 or 13, and I think from there I got more and more opportunities as I continued to do well in events. But most of them were within the snowboarding world and that community. But I think the coolest part about the Olympics is that you get to work with all these brands like PNG, and you really get to branch out, and I love it. I feel like it's really, it comes around every 4 years, and it's really interesting. I think sometimes I get a little nervous because I don't know how to act necessarily with all these like big brands, but at the end of the day, I feel like I love meeting new people. I love working with different brands. I love learning about how they approach the business side of their companies and how they want to do all that. So I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to continue to learn. And I actually love sitting at all those meetings where you're like brainstorming ideas for an upcoming shoot, all of that stuff. I think it's really interesting, and it's an honor that brands like PNG are interested and are excited to work with people like me. So I think at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful.
Well, that brings me to one of my last questions, which is, when you're, on the box of Wheaties, so to speak, right? When you're out there with the brands, they are, making Chloe Kim bigger, right? And that makes you a role model. Do you think about that? I mean, the people in the line at Starbucks, the folks on the street or on the mountain who look to you as a role model. How do you think about being a role model, particularly for young women who, who look to you and say, I want to be like Chloe?
I think there's a lot of pressure that comes with that because, like I said, I think it kind of makes me feel like I need to be the best version of myself, and I felt that way for a really long time. But I started to realize that that's not necessarily true. Like, I think as long as I continue to be the most authentic version of myself and, I guess, handle my emotions well, which has been very, very difficult, by the way. But I think just trying to be as open as I can and just showing, those who do look up to me that it's completely okay to be yourself and feel all the things you feel and react the ways you need to react to let it all out and kind of reset. I think that's the best that I can do. And obviously, I just want to spread happiness and positivity. So I'm working really hard to do that.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I imagine you're also working very hard because you have an Olympics coming up, right?
I do. Let's do it again.
Well, best of luck with that. I think everybody in the audience is going to be cheering for you. And so good luck in Beijing. And thank you so much, Chloe, for being part of Signal this year. Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.